an interesting sort of, once again, like every single house that is like a top up or new construction, it's like without fail, open permits, open permits, open permits. Has a bunch of open permits, but it also has a order not to comply to, it doesn't comply to plans. And so they did something that was not correct anyway. So I followed up with the agent on it, and he was like, yeah, they added a bedroom in the basement that wasn't on the drawings, and the inspector called them out on it, and they had to go back to committee and all this stuff. Anyway, he says it's all cleared up, and now all the rest of the permits will now be closed off. And so here's the question. Offers are next week on this property.
Are they going to just accept an offer with that? Because most agents won't check.
What he said was that they're actually going to put in the Schedule B, that they're going to put a thing saying that the seller will close all the permits. Nice. What if they don't?
Then you can walk away, but then you've wasted
Fantastic.
time.
You just sold your house and you've got everything in a moving truck ready to go.
And you've wasted time and energy.
So what do you do? And the seller's just like, we didn't get it done in time.
Can they be given a certain period of time, like a holdback or something, and say, we think you have, 2 months or maybe a month or something to start the process?
So I went through this thing was like they paid $2.5 million for a house that now, like, one of the biggest reasons why they bought that house was because of the driveway. And then these guys like promised to close the permits and do all that stuff, but they didn't. And then at the end they were getting ready to just cut the driveway and make it smaller. And it's like, no, guys, like a driveway has to be a certain size to be considered a 2-car driveway. It has to be certain dimensions. And so when you cut this, it won't be those dimensions anymore. So now you've materially changed what it is that we've purchased. You can't do that. And so it kind of goes into this sort of, it's a pretty big problem because my buyers want new construction or something that's new. Pretty much, it doesn't have to be brand new. It could be like, something that's 10 years old and was a new build 10 years ago. But they basically don't want like a little skinny house or a bungalow. They want like a big 4-bedroom, beautiful home. And the problem is that these builders are so hot to trot to get these things sold that the moment it's showable, they're selling them. But they're selling them with these open permits. In a lot of cases, the permits are staying open. So what do we do? Ultimately, the seller, like the buyer, becomes responsible as the new, like the person that owns the house is responsible for those permits, especially when you go to sell the property later if you can't close them. So it is one of those things. Is like, how do you move forward with an offer and keep these guys on the hook? Like, and you say like it's a $50,000 holdback if you don't do it, and negotiate it right at the beginning, and say like if you don't do this, it's a $50,000 holdback or more. Like if you're so confident that you're going to do this, $100,000 holdback.
And I'll pay you when you do it. Is that possible? So if you do it within a month?
Well, if you're competing in a multiple offer situation, it's probably.
Which in a lot of the cases you're not with these houses these days. As we've seen, like these houses don't.
In that certain price bracket,
But I think that we have to have some sort of customary approach to how do we protect our clients? What's our modus operandi to make sure that if our clients get stuck with an open permit, that they are financially compensated for that, and then they go into it knowing, like, I don't want to rely on them to do any work or anything like that. That's the problem, right? So if the property closes on the 25th and the permits aren't closed, there's $100,000 less coming your way. Period.
That's it. Yeah.
Period.
Yeah.
And that'll be held for 30 days. And if at the end of that 30 days, the permits are still not closed, then the funds will be redirected back to the buyer. The buyer's lawyer holds this $100,000.
Right.
And the moment those permits are closed, they'll be released to the seller.
Right.
But if at the end of 30 days they're not, then it gets reimbursed back to the buyer, and the buyer becomes responsible to close the permits.
It's their house now, so now.
So they have to apply it, and so so here's the question: as the buyer, would you assume that risk for $100,000?
Yeah.
It would depend on what the permits were. I'm sure.
Yeah.
If it was an order not to comply, hard pass.
Yeah, because then
You can't buy the house.
Yeah.
What happens when there's an order not to comply? Then the seller has already built, let's say, the bedroom, but there's an order not to comply.
So the bedroom, that's a small issue. The problem, like if it's not to plans and it has something to do with the footprint of the home or the height of the home, the shear walls, like anything that has to do with like the actual construction of the home, then you've got a different sort of problem.
Bigger problem.
Or something like add to the structure.
So there are houses in the city that have been built too close to the road. Take it down.
Oh my God.
Take it down. Like, no. There are people that put up decks that aren't to code or that haven't got the proper permits. They're too high. They're too big. They're whatever. Take it down. Cut it. Make it smaller. Whatever.
Yeah.
So the city, like this, I think a lot of people are like think that you can do whatever you want and then beg forgiveness, and you cannot. Like the city does play hardball every once in a while on this sort of stuff. If it's something small, like, you know, you changed how many bathrooms there are in the house. They may or may, like something like that. Like, and it's usually, in a lot of these cases, it's a deletion where they have like one less bathroom than they had before, and they opened something up.
So going back to that example, they put in a bedroom, an extra bedroom. They got the order not to comply.
Yeah, they didn't change the size of the house or anything. They just changed the configuration of the basement.
And then what's the actual consequence? Like, is it?
They got to go back to committee. They got to go back.
So it's basically to make sure that it's approved.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. It just takes longer for them to close.
Yeah. Anyway, so that's it's something that's come up. Is like, I think that we should have something that's pretty standard for any time when we come up against these permits, and then we can put in the appropriate dollar figure, and it should be about 3 to 4 times what it would cost to remedy.
Yeah.
It's like it should be a major hit to the sellers. Like,
I better take care of this.
Yeah.